Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to Mystical Munchies, featuring the World of Warcraft official cookbook. Last week we concluded Redo Month with the drink, Lava Colada. This week we're going to start into this new cookbook with the appetizer, Buzzard Bites. First up, let's tell the story. Bam! The sweet and tangy sauce that covers these bite-sized morsels will make you pucker up and take notice. Combine that with the savory bacon bits scattered throughout, and you've got yourself a snack that goes down smooth as butter. Well, we'll find out about that during the taste test, and that was my best Emerald impression, which I will promise I will probably never do again. But, as usual, the ingredients are waiting for us at the table, so let's head in that general direction. It might not be instinctive to see from here, but I was trying to create two distinct groups of ingredients because we've got somewhat of a two-part recipe. So first up, for the bites themselves, we're going to need a pound of ground turkey, making sure that's in shot, half a cup of breadcrumbs, which are right there, a heaping cup of half a heaping cup of cooked bacon, which I've done and crumbled up, and I've done that right here. 2 tablespoons each of garlic and onion powder, and an egg. Then for the sauce, we're going to need 1.5 cups of apple cider, a cup of ketchup, half a cup of balsamic vinegar, and a generous pinch each of salt, pepper, and a nutmeg. I'm using my 1/4 teaspoon measuring spoon for that, because that's the smallest measurement I've got. With that, let's head into the kitchen and start putting this recipe together. First, we're going to make the bites themselves. So I've got the bowl of bacon here. So we're going to take the half cup of breadcrumbs, which I'll have to cut this open, but there are our breadcrumbs. Scissors are back here. That can hit the bin. It's maybe a little bit heaping, but not too bad. And that goes. Let me see if I can get a little bit of that out, because I'll need that measuring cup again. That can go back toward the table. Breadcrumbs can go back up. This thing does not want to press down. There we are. Okay, that's back up. We've got our pound of ground turkey. So I'll try to start. Let's see if I can start breaking this up once I get a hold of it. Actually, it looks like it's going to start breaking up even a little bit on its own, but I'll see if I can tear it a little bit more. There we are. Okay, that can hit the bin as well. Then we want an egg. There we are. Without any shell, thankfully. I'll give my hands a quick wash. Mostly I'm just giving my hands a quick wash so I can handle the powders. And we'll need 2 tablespoons each of garlic and onion powder once the eggs hit the fridge. Here's our onion powder. I believe it was 2 tablespoons, right? A little late now to go back on that if it's wrong, but it's not. So 2 tablespoons of, that was the onion powder we put in. And now we'll go for the garlic powder. Okay. Then that can go toward the sink. These can go up. And now what kind of consistency do we want for this? Just mix until evenly distributed. And yes, we are going to be using my hands for this. So I'm going to come at it from this side and start mixing this all up. And we're of course still waiting for the oven to come to temperature, and I probably mentioned this, but while we're also waiting for the oven to come to temperature, I've also already pre-lined a baking sheet with parchment powder. Alright, the Buzzard Bites, the bites that we're going to be making out of this are probably going to have to be pretty small because the recipe calls for 24. It calls for you to be able to make 24 of them, and of course the link to that will be in the description down below, but we'll see how that cooperates here. I think we've got most of those mixed up. So I'll give my hands another quick wash, mostly again so I can handle each piece of hardware. Then I'm going to grab the baking sheet next. It's floating up more, the paper's floating off more than I'd like, but I've never really been able to get parchment paper to kind of stick until I get the stuff down on top of it. So now we want to form these into about golf ball size and space them about 1.5 inches apart. So I'm going to go ahead and do one of these. Probably going to be a little bit bigger than a golf ball. Well, that's actually not bad. So I think we can put that down there. Take a little more of that. Okay. I'll do one more, and then I think I'm going to shut the camera off so I don't bore you guys with this step. We'll come back with once I get this last one done on camera, about like so. I'll shut the camera off, and hopefully we'll come back with 2 things done. All of these made into balls, and the oven preheated. This isn't exactly the number we had in mind, and I was trying to do a little bit about the spacing of these. I wanted them to be about 1.5 inches apart, but the baking sheet isn't big enough for that. Next up, what we're going to do with these is we're going to put them in the oven for 18 to 20 minutes. The goal is until they're no longer pink in the middle. I'm going to put this in for about, I think, 23 minutes. I'll have to move the camera just a touch. Actually, we'll turn over this way. I'll set a kitchen timer for 23 minutes and we'll come back to that. But we're not going to sit idle while those are cooking. We need to make the sauce, and for that, we're going to move over to more fully focus on the stove. The recipe suggests for this part to use a small saucepan, but instead we're going to use a stock pot because we are going to need probably room for a step later in the recipe. So now we're going to take the sauce ingredients and combine them. Grab another wooden spoon out for this. We want to combine these and simmer for about 30 minutes. So I actually had to look up what simmer means because I'm usually used to, when I need to do stuff on the stove, letting it come to a boil. This is where you want to let it start to come to a boil, but you don't want it to boil. So we're going to start off with 1.5 cups of our apple cider. If I can ever get this open. That was annoying. See if I can get that little plastic ring off. There we go. Okay, we wanted 1.5 cups of the apple cider. That can go back in the fridge. Right. Now we want our cup of ketchup. We'll see if I've got enough in here. I'm going to end up emptying the bottle out, but it looks like I do. Which is fine. I really don't use ketchup for much anyway anymore. Let me grab a spoon out. There we are. Okay, that can go, those can go toward the dishes. Then we want our 1/2 cup of balsamic vinegar, which I'm going to have to, of course, open fresh. Thankfully, there's a pull tab right here to make that easy. Which, of course, doesn't tear all the way across. Because, of course not, that would make my life, well, you should be able to make do here. See if we can, yep, we can lift that right off, cool. Okay. Our balsamic vinegar. Okay. I was a little nervous about that spout, but it looks like it'll pour fast enough. So we're not sitting here for 3 hours watching 1/2 cup of balsamic vinegar pour out. Grab a little paper towel and clean up the spatter, a little bit of the spatter of the bacon grease and the ketchup. As usual, when I do anything on the stove, from that burner, I'm not going to try to get the camera over the top of it. So now we're going to take our generous pinch each of salt. Okay, that's probably more than a pinch at this point, but nothing I can do about that. Pepper. Do not want that scattering over. Let me wipe that up a bit. And nutmeg. Okay. Pepper and the nutmeg can both go back up. Then I'm going to turn the burner on high, at least for purposes of starting to bring it to a boil. But as soon as I start seeing bubbles in here, I'm going to bring it right back down. I'm going to bring it down to a low level because, like I said, I want bubbles, but I don't want it to boil. So if it starts boiling, I've gone too far. I'll give this a nice thorough stir to try to get the ketchup dissolved in there. Once I start seeing bubbles, then I think we're going to kill the camera, because at that point, we'll need to let it simmer for 30 minutes, and I don't want to sit here while it simmers for 30 minutes. I will, however, leave the camera on until we get to that point. Do a little bit more cleanup in here. I'm just trying to clean this up so I get the big clumps of ketchup dissolved. I think we got most of it at this point. All right, I can probably pull that spoon out for the time being. So now it's just a matter of watching and waiting. I'm starting to see some bubbles, but like I said, I don't want to let it come to a full rolling boil, because if I do that, then I've gone too far. Definitely smelling the vinegar, though. Hopefully that won't be too much of a problem. Probably doesn't help when I'm hovering right over the top of the pot, trying to watch everything, trying to watch to see how far it comes, comes up. Didn't expect to get the paper towel that far underneath the burner to where it started smoking. I was just trying to do a little bit of cleanup in there. Okay, looks like it's starting. Okay, I'm going to start turning the heat down a bit because, like I said, I want to let it simmer, but I don't want to let... I do want bubbles, but I don't want it to come to a full boil, so I need to be very careful about that. And I see bubbles, so I think what I'm going to do here is now I'm going to lower the heat. I'll probably take it down to about a 3. Maybe I'll give it about another, I think I'll probably give it about another minute. Then I'll lower the heat one more time, and at that point I'll start the simmer timer. I'm also going to keep an eye on it because I want to make sure this is actually going to thicken for me. Okay. Looks like the meatballs themselves are going to be about to come out. I'm going to be dizzy while I'm in here from the vinegar smell. Hopefully not too bad though, but well, it'll also probably help once I'm not so over the top with the once I'm not so over top of the pot. But okay, everything's looking good in there. Like I said, about another minute. Then we're going to turn the heat down and let this simmer. Okay. Just check to see how it's thickening. Alright, I think a 3 is about where I want to be on the simmer, so I'm going to start the kitchen timer on the microwave for 30 minutes, and we'll let that simmer. We'll come back to this in about 30 minutes. I extended the simmering for about 10 minutes because it actually looked like it was starting to thicken in the later stages of the simmering. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the meatballs that came out here. We're going to put them in the sauce easily so I don't burn my hand. Okay, looks like we got them all in. I can throw the parchment paper out. Then we're going to mix them up in the sauce so we can make sure they all get covered. I'm going to use a slotted spoon here for that. Preferably without turning the pan, or without the pot, but I don't think there's any help with that here. Okay. I think we're all good there. Looks like we got these mostly covered. So, since we want to serve these warm, once I finish mixing them up, I'll go ahead and go ahead and plate a few of these, and I'll meet you guys back at my desk for the taste test. The kitchen's actually been smelling fairly vinegary this morning, but that's not a big surprise because I had the sauce on the stove for about 40 minutes, and I just stuck toothpicks in since these are technically supposed to be hors d'oeuvres. And I didn't want to dirty up a fork. I mean, it's such a lazy thing, but let's go ahead and give these a taste and see what I think. Whoa, I can definitely still smell the vinegar on this. These are actually really good. They almost seem like mini meatloaves, just because they've got everything you'd need for meatloaf. They've got the meat, the breadcrumbs. The only thing that might be missing is the onions, but it almost seems like by the time you get all the small balls made, There's probably not much room in here for onions, but you can definitely tailor this easily enough. I did notice the sweetness a little bit, but that was only for like a second, and some of it might be that the sauce is maybe, well, it's not too runny. It seems like it's staying on there okay, but that's another episode of Mystical Munchies in the books. Next week, we'll be cooking the side out of the World of Warcraft official cookbook, cornmeal biscuits. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.